Let's speak now to Chris Phillips. He is former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office and ex-Met Police DCI. Chris, fantastic to have you on the programme. The first question I want to ask you today is, I was listening to an interview with the Home Office Secretary today, who was Shabana Mahmood, who was basically asked, should these pro-Palestine marches continue to go ahead? And as we saw with the previous government, she was buck-passing it back to the Met Police. My understanding is the Met Police have said, we don't want them to go ahead, but don't, as the police have the power to prevent them. Should these pro-Palestine marches be going ahead?
Well, it is a simple fact that the Home Secretary has the authority to ban marches. The police are there to facilitate marches in the main, and that's what they do. Now, clearly, there are many people that dislike certain marches and would have a moan about them. You know, the stopgap, if you like, is a march should go ahead unless there's some real reason to think there's violence or it's being used by some group. Now, you know, my view is that these should be banned, but that is a matter for the Home Secretary.
But I think we know, don't we, that these marches are being used by some group, potentially various groups. In fact, the anti-extremism czar made a statement to the last government saying that he believes these marches are propaganda weapons for terrorist organisations. I think we know that. Without doubt, October the 7th was supposed to be a catalyst for a propaganda war against Israel and is proving to be very successful. But I wonder as well, when these marches are being coordinated via social media platforms, whether that very conveniently doubles up as a recruitment drive for would-be terrorist organisations to help to identify, groom and radicalise and then coordinate people who might wish to commit acts of terrorism on our shores. Are my fears unfounded?
Well, I mean, you know, there are an awful lot of people across the country who are very concerned about what's going on in Gaza. No doubt about that. And probably most of us share those views. What we're looking at here are the people on the extremes and the edges. And unfortunately, Alex, there's a lot of people on those edges that really are a cause for concern. And yes, you're right. It is an opportunity for people on those edges to bring more people towards them. And I think we've got to be very careful about how we police these things, but we shouldn't be accepting law breaking. And, you know, some of the things that were shouted, certainly in the early days, really should have had more robust policing.
They're being shouted today. Globalise the Intifada is being shouted continuously. From the river to the sea is being shouted continuously. I want to ask you as well about what happened operationally yesterday, because I was glued to the television watching everything take place. The BBC reporting it was a police helicopter. My understanding it was actually an SAS helicopter. The army called in bomb disposal. I was doing a lot of American media yesterday, and it turned out that America put all of its mosques under its synagogues under tight security following what had happened in the United Kingdom. They watched what was taking place over here and thought that they needed to take special measures. I wonder how close we are in the West to coordinated terrorist attacks in our big towns and cities.
Well, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen actually attacks on synagogues on Yom Kippur. In Germany in 2019, a synagogue, almost an identical attack as this happened. Now, yes, we've also seen multiple coordinated attacks in Paris and, of course, in other locations. So we are close. I think the police immediately called Operation Plato, which means that there's a coordinated response, which one of those responses would have been a team of SAS made ready. There's no doubt about that. And the saving grace on this is that the police officers got to the scene so quickly and they managed to kill the man that was threatening to blow them up. So brilliant work from the policing on this occasion. But you're right, you know, we have been expecting multiple coordinated attacks for many years. I'm almost surprised that it hasn't happened up until yet.
This is what I want to really talk about today, because I follow various people who are intelligence in the CIA, ex-CIA, people who are experts on the Middle East. There's one particular incredible woman who is a security advisor to America on Benghazi called Sarah Adams, who has warned explicitly over and over again that there's an Al-Qaeda 2.0, that they are being backed and funded not only by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now by Iran, that they are coordinating with ISIS, that they are essentially shipping in potential terror cells across the West via illegal routes, and that they could be planning something akin to an October the 7th attack, but multiple ones across the West, and that she fears the target date is December this year. I don't know if you're aware of that, if anything has sort of crossed your desk about this, that you know, well, I say your desk, but as your former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, but whether you think that we are now in a very perilous position, not just in the United Kingdom, but across Europe and across America, that we potentially have a heck of a lot of terrorist sleeper cells in our country.
Well, it's not come across my desk, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. The simple fact is, since the Paris attacks just a few years ago, we've seen a lull in terrorism. Although it has become normalised, individual attacks by individual people has become almost normalised across Europe. We haven't seen the big set-piece attacks. Now, I've been warning for many years that this is a real possibility, that this could really happen. Behind the scenes, the police and the military do train for these sort of things and have a fast response, as you saw yesterday with the SAS team coming in. You know, we have them in our cities available to go into action if needed. But it's an impossible situation that we're faced with. We've got so many people in this country. We don't know who half of them are. We know that. The people that have come across the channel, you know, we know that they throw away their identity. We just don't know the range of the threat that we face right across Europe from these groups, who could, at some stage, a group of individuals come together in order to commit a multiple attack.
Then why everybody is screaming at home, have successive governments allowed these mass migratory flows into the country? Why is this current government putting these people not just in hotels, but now houses dotted around the country? Why, when it should be perfectly possible to take, some might call it radical action, I think it's perfectly normal action, to close our borders, is that not being done? Surely departments such as your former department, the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, must be shouting at the government, you've got to get a grip on this. We don't know who's coming in. We don't know who these people are. You can't just stick them in the middle of our neighbourhoods. They might mean to do something utterly catastrophic.
Well, we've had 15 years of weak-willed government, and we're not willing to make the difficult decisions. And luckily, Alex, we do live in a democracy, and this is about the rise. You know, the messages you're putting out there is about the rise of the Reform Party, because the public generally can see what's going on. We're not idiots. The public are not idiots. They
but
see
the
what's
government
going on.
aren't. This is what I don't understand. The governments aren't idiots either, and they must be privy to briefings coming from whoever, whether it be MI5, MI6, Prevent, National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, the Counter-Extremism Czar. They must be subject to multiple briefings from Five Eyes about the danger these things pose, and they are not doing anything. They're not doing anything, and I can no longer make sense of that.
No, but this has been the case for at least 15 years, and the governments have not dealt with it. They've not been willing to deal with the acts of Parliament or the European powers that are out there. Allowing people to misuse the Asylum Act. They've not been willing to deal with that, so they've dealt with individually these cases. Now, anyone that thinks this one out, one in situation is going to make a blind bit of difference to someone who wants to come over it. And it's not just for terrorism. Let's be quite frank, Alex. This is not just about terrorism, although that is the worst case scenario. Yeah. Many people are being brought over in order to commit crime and to be used to commit crime for large organised crime groups. I
remember we used to have a traffic light system. I remember this quite keenly. About 10 years ago, we were told it was an amber warning of the terror threat, a red warning for the terror threat. We had the former head of MI5 tell us about the number of extreme terror plots that had been foiled over the course of a number of years. But ever since COVID, that seems to have all stopped. It's almost like we're brushing the idea of terrorism under the carpet. We're pretending it's not there. We don't want to scare the public. When I would imagine right now, particularly after October the 7th, that we're in a more precarious situation than ever before. And then I see things like it's the Green Party conference going on right now, and their deputy leader, a guy called Mothin Ali, branded a Leeds rabbi a creep and a lowlife and an animal in a video that's now been deleted, and forced that rabbi's family into hiding. He put an image of himself with Bob Villan online, death to the IDF. His response to the Hamas terror attack was essentially that this was, white supremacist and European settler colonialism. He's the deputy leader of the Green Party. He's going to be on a stage later today, straight after Jews. There's been an intended mass slaughter of Jews in a synagogue in Manchester. He's going to be taking up a microphone. Bob Villan's got a lovely little gig booked in Manchester. What is going on? Why aren't these people being dragged into custody, thrown in clink to send a message to everybody who harbours these disgusting radical Islamist views that they are not welcome in this country?
Alex, you make very good points, and I'm not going to disagree with any of them. The one point I'd make as well is that this is not just a UK problem. This is a French problem, a Belgian problem, a German problem. Right across Europe, we're seeing the same issues with immigration, with people committing terrorist attacks, becoming radicalised within the country. This is a European problem in particular, but it's also in the US. This is an issue that we've all got to face across Europe, and we've got to do it strongly, and we've got to deal with the issues that we face. And unfortunately, I would suggest that, the last 15, 20 years of government has completely failed to deal with it. Indeed, it has, and it has imperiled all of us. And it's especially imperiled the Jewish community. Chris Phillips, former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, thank you ever so much